And welcome to another edition of the X Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell. We're coming to you around the world from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Now, if you'd like to contact us on any social media site, it's X Zone Radio TV. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. For all the programming that we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net, and of course for Simul TV, we're channel 21, www.simultv.com. Exonation, my guest tonight is Tom Ogden. He is one of America's leading paranormal experts and authors on ghosts and the spirit world. He considers himself a researcher and a paranormal journalist. In preparation for his books, he listens to first-hand accounts, compares to historical claims, and then subjects them all to rigorous examination. Tom is also a member of the Paranormal Investigation Committee on of the Society of American Magicians. His 40 years plus as a professional magician has given him a unique perspective into paranormal phenomenon and what is and isn't possible by trickery. Currently, Tom resides in haunted Hollywood, California. Joining us now from haunted Hollywood, California is our guest, Tom Ogden. And Tom, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you very much, Rob. It's great to be here for the first time.
Well, I'm sure this won't be the last time. Tom, first of all, to you and your fellow Californians, we've been watching the news around the world, in Canada, the United States. Those fires that you're having, our best wishes and our prayers are with you all.
Thank you. It is devastating.
Yeah.
California, of course, this is our driest season. We've come out of the summer and the winter rains haven't started yet.
Right.
So all of the vegetation on these hillsides have been growing up, because it's mostly chaparral, not forest. And it's statewide. That's one of the big problems as well.
How did you get started as a magician first? And what was the crossover point to the paranormal?
Right. Well, one slight correction. It wasn't 4 years. I've been a magician for 40 years.
Oh, I'm sorry, 40 years.
No. I probably mistyped that when I sent you my background information. I started as a teenager, and then after getting through college, discovered I had no other marketable skills. So I stayed in magic, which would pay my way through college. Magic has always had this connection with the occult, the supernatural, because of it goes back to ancient times when science separated from religion, and magic was sort of a bridge between the two. Many oracles and spirit workers and shamans would use simple magic tricks to convince people that they had powers beyond humans. By the Middle Ages, not the Dark Ages, but by the Middle Ages, magic was clearly by that time an entertainment, not a sorcery or witchcraft. But still, that connection lingered through the centuries, and magicians have not done a great deal to disavow it, because it gives a little bit of extra, another layer, a little bit of mystery to their persona, I suppose.
Right.
I was not particularly interested in the paranormal until about 10, 15 years ago, other than from a magician's point of view. In other words, I knew how magicians in the past, going back to the 1500s actually, appeared ghosts on the stage next to living people, how they would use tricks to do spirit communications, a sort of demonstrations were done in seances, at spiritualism seances in the late 19th century. Late 20th. Yeah, 19th century.
Yeah.
And, of course, I'm just old enough to have seen a couple of the last spook shows that magicians toured after World War II, in which they showed horror movies and in between did a magic show themed with ghosts and monsters. So I had that interest. But I was asked by the Idiot's Guide series, the they're the competition to the Dummies series, to write a book called The Complete Idiot's Guide to Magic Tricks, which came out in the late 90s. And as it was in galleys, I guess, or proofs, they said, we want to do not a how-to book, but a general information book on ghosts and hauntings. You're a magician. You must know all about ghosts. And I said, well, does it pay in advance against royalties? And they said, yes. I said, I know everything there is to know.
Not only are you an expert magician, but you're also an astute business person.
If they're gonna, it's actually what's that?
Nothing.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's an old magic creed that you accept the performance first, then figure out how to do it. But as I said, I already knew the magic background, but I knew nothing. And of course, I knew famous classic ghost stories, but I didn't know any of the actual scientific investigation that had been done, not just by skeptic societies, but by professional societies who were trying to figure out what ghosts actually are and what they're not. And if they are a returning spirit from a human being after death, why would they bother to come back? They were trying to put together and are still trying to put together sort of a universal theory of the paranormal that would explain why some people will see an apparition, but someone else will only sense a disturbance in the room, or the back of their hair, the hair on the back of their neck will go up, but they don't see anything. To explain why all these things are possible. So when I started researching that end to put in my book, I was hooked. And I said, I have to learn more about this. And then after that book came out, which went through 2 editions, a different publishing house 5 years later, and this is what authors love to have happen, or writers love to have happen, I got an email out of the blue from someone I didn't know saying, hi, we're with Globe Pequot Press in New England. We'd like you to write a book for us called Haunted Highways. So they love it when you don't have to send a proposal. They bring it to us. They were impressed by the take, I guess, on my Ghosts and Hauntings book, that instead of doing it chronologically, when I got into the actual ghost stories, I separated them by types of venues. My premise was that ghosts don't haunt people, usually. They haunt places, and then we stumble into those places. So what type of places do they return to? So there was a chapter on haunted theaters and haunted cemeteries and haunted hotels, and there was one chapter on haunted transportation, which of course featured the stories of the hitchhiking ghosts and that sort of thing. And that's what led them to me. And that one book is turned now into a series of 12 books over the last 24 or so. Last 15, 20 years.
Tell me, have you ever seen a ghost?
No, but boy, do I wish I had. I think it has something to do with the fact that I'm a magician and I may be trying too hard. Or there's not a skepticism, but a natural elimination or dismissal of not messages, but messages is as good a word as any evidence that something unusual might happen, and I'd just dismiss that, these things happen. But members of my family have.
All right, listen, we're going to take a little break here because I have to take my first break, Tom, and I want to thank you so much for joining us. Exonation, Tom Ogden is our special guest this hour. And if you'd like to find out more about Tom, visit his website, www.tomogden.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and for all of you listeners around the world who love getting the newest edition of the X Chronicles newspaper, it's up at www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. That's xchroniclesnewspaper.com. xchroniclesnewspaper.com. And Tom Ogden and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue investigating the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology right here in the X Zone. Don't go away. Tom Ogden is our guest, www.tomogden.com. And Tom, not having seen a ghost yourself for one reason or another, when it comes to ghosts, are you a believer? Are you a skeptic? Or are you somewhere in between?
Great question. I think that I am a believer until proven otherwise.
So you're innocent until proven guilty, or guilty until proven innocent.
I know that's a backwards way from most people. But after the first of my first ghost books came out, then people started coming to me and telling me their stories. As a matter of fact, I heard the first one while I was still writing the book. I am still a performing magician, and I was meeting a cruise ship in Buenos Aires. And a woman who had been on my flight offered to drop me off. She had a car and driver coming, which I greatly appreciated. And on the way, we started talking about this book I was working on, and she said very quietly, "I have a ghost." And I said, by that time, I knew enough to not ask questions because they would be leading questions if I asked things like, well, did you see it? Did you feel it? Did you hear it? Instead, I just said, tell me about it.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I have a haunted mirror. It belonged to my grandmother, and after she passed, she gave it. We received it, and we hung it in our hallway, the same foyer, the same way she had it in her house. She said, and every so often I would go past it out of the corner of my eye. I would see my grandmother's reflection in the mirror, but of course, as soon as I turned directly toward the mirror, she was no longer there. And I said, so what did you do with the mirror? She said, well, I couldn't break it because what if it was a portal to the next world? She said, I couldn't sell it because I couldn't sell my grandmother. But I also, she was so freaked out about this that eventually they put it in storage. I didn't say to her, so you thought it was okay to crate grandma up and put her in the attic, but I assured her that was far from a unique story. That reflective surfaces have been used not only in clairvoyance, prognostication, but also in a portal between the two worlds into antiquity. I said at first it was into a bowl of water, scrying, or a moving stream. It took forward solid shape in the form of a crystal ball, and of course we've all know the magic mirror in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I said also probably the most famous haunted mirror is here in Hollywood where I live. Shall we talk about that? That's a nice segue.
I'd love to.
It hung for many years in the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, which I believe is the most actively haunted place here in Hollywood. It was built about the same time as the Chinese theater, where all the handprints and footprints are. I don't remember the exact date, but it was around 1929, 1930. It was back in that era. And lots of celebrities have stayed there over the years. And Marilyn Monroe used to use that after she became, first of all, her first photo shoot in a swimsuit as Marilyn Monroe was done by the pool there. She would sometimes stay in the cabana houses out by the pool, but usually she stayed in a suite in the upper floors in Suite 1200. Years after her passage, a maid was cleaning up the room and had the same thing happen to her, that as she was looking in a full-length mirror, a vertical mirror. She thought she saw Marilyn Monroe come up behind her, start primping her makeup. And the woman turns, of course, thinking, oh, we have one of these Marilyn impersonators in town, and there's no one in the room. Well, of course, she immediately told the rest of the staff,
Yeah.
and eventually it created such a stir that the manager of the hotel took it into his own office. And then eventually word got out into the paranormal community, and the mirror was moved down to the lobby where people could check it out for themselves. And eventually they got a tongue-in-cheek usage for it. They put it down by, and when I first saw it, it was by the rear elevators down back by the valets in the back of the hotel. And it was set at the, if you're facing the doors of the elevator, it was to the right, on the right wall. On the, behind you, they had placed a large poster of Marilyn Monroe. So if you stood just right, you could take a selfie of this image of Marilyn Monroe standing over your shoulder, take a picture of yourself looking in the mirror, and Marilyn was over your shoulder.
Wow, what a marketing idea.
It was, yes, except, of course, it was drawing a lot of people to the hotel who were not staying at the hotel.
Bad idea.
And bad idea. And the when the restaurant, not restaurant, but hotel and restaurants and everything else, got new owners, not new managers, but new owners. First, they moved it to the mezzanine area, and then eventually they too put it in. They put it in storage when the lobby was being remodeled, but it was never brought back out. Now, I've heard rumors that it was sold to not Scarlett Johansson, Parent Trap, not Haley Mills. Who did the anyway? It was sold to a movie star who had done a Marilyn look-alike themed shoot for a magazine. And she got fascinated for a while and bought the mirror. But I can't get anyone at the hotel to confirm it today. Of course, it's so many years. It's more than a decade since it was taken down that no one, in the lobby staff at the
Sure.
No, they even say mirror. We had what?
Mirror,
yeah. But it's far from the only haunting at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel.
Why do you think certain entities or spirits or memories linger to a point where other people may interact with it, see it in the corner of their eyes? And if they see it in the corner of their eyes, how come they're not able to actually do a face-to-face?
Yeah. I wish I had that explanation. I would be a star in the paranormal world because no one knows.
Yeah.
And the real problem with ghost investigation, I think, is that so much of it is anecdotal. Well, almost all of it is anecdotal, but it's non-repeatable. You can't. It's the same thing. Terrible analogy.
Okay.
But it's the same thing with my car. When I take it to the garage, it doesn't make the noises I have to have the repairman here to fix. We can't say, don't worry. Anyone who walks by there, if you kind of glance sideways, you'll see it. It just doesn't occur that way. But I don't know why that is such a frequent attempt at whether it is actually a mirror of, a memory of the mirror that triggers a false image, or whether, I don't know. I do not have an answer for that. I wish I did.
How can an object retain a memory that could actually cause a person to believe they're seeing that memory?
Well, don't although we're talking about an apparition here,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't that happen with any keepsake or souvenir that we keep close to us? We buy a postcard to remind us of a vacation we've gone to.
Right.
One of the family members I was saying, and my family members who saw a ghost, felt a ghost,
Mm-hmm.
was surrounding, involved the rosary beads that were held by his grandmother. And that triggered the interaction.
All right, stand by. We've got to take another break here. Exonation, Tom Ogden is our guest. His website is www.tomogden.com, and he is the author of Haunted Hollywood. And Tom, where is Haunted Hollywood available?
To be honest, the best place is Amazon or any place you can find books, but usually you'd have to do a special order through a bookstore.
All right, so let's go with Amazon.com or Amazon.ca. And
That's
Tom
right.
and I will be back on the other side of this break with the news, continuing our conversation on ghosts, spirits, and things that go bump in the night, besides your Uncle Charlie when he comes home too late from the local bar. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And like I said, the newest edition of the X Chronicles newspaper is now available online. You can digitally download it. You can read it online, or if you'd like to go, you can go to Amazon.com and get the paperback version. Great articles in there this month. Our staff did a super job, as they always do, and of course, this is a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Tom Ogden is our guest, www.tomogden.com. Tom, before we went to the news break, we were talking about memories, and you used the example of how a postcard reminds us of something that we did on our vacation. Well, that postcard is not projecting an image that I would consider to be paranormal. And if we use that analogy, is it then possible that when this person looks at the object, and let's take the example of the lady who had the mirror that she believed was haunted by her grandmother, is it memory recall that she is actually experiencing and nothing to do with the paranormal?
It may be,
Mm-hmm.
but then again, it might also trigger why the spirit is returning at that time.
I don't understand that.
In other words, I don't let's think of it then as a telephone call. I'm theorizing this. This is
Okay.
not a belief that I have.
Sure.
My sister isn't in my mind all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but she called me earlier today, and immediately I picked up, and I was there and anxious to talk to her. Is it possible that a memory
Mm-hmm.
can trigger someone on the other side to come back and make contact at that time?
So if you confess it, you will possess it. I want, because something that I found in the paranormal, there's a lot of iffy stuff because there is no actual evidence. And today in the year 2018, there's a lot of technology out there, and 99.9% of the people who use it don't know what the hell they're doing with it. All these groups.
You've seen me try to work my laptop.
All these different groups that are out there going out night after night and doing paranormal investigations. You would think by now somebody would have caught something that cannot be disputed as hardcore evidence. But all these years later, absolutely nothing. And I really believe that what is happening now is that people are starting to say, oh, come on, not this again. And yet you deal with this, you write about it. So where do you draw the line between reality and belief? That you want to believe something so much that you yourself manifest it. and it has nothing to do with reality at all.
Wow, an interesting question, field of inquiry. I also, and this is heresy to ghost hunters, but I'm also suspect about a lot of the electronic use to detect ghosts. First of all, it's all based, their use is based on the what they think ghosts are composed of. The fact that there is electrical energy involved that will emanate something.
Right.
So if that's not really, at least our understanding of what electrical energy is, it would not be recorded. I find, although it's not repeatable and it's not provable, I actually find the human anecdotal evidence more convincing, and it leads me to believe that it's the human interaction that's necessary rather than a mechanical or technological intermediary. Let me further tell you about what happened with my brother-in-law Randy.
Sure.
To explain why I feel this way. When he was around 13, now he's now deceased, so I guess he's a spirit someplace. When he was 13 or so, he and his slightly older teenage brother went into their grandmother's bedroom about 3 months after their grandma had died. Now, she was a very fervent Catholic, always carried a set of rosary beads, which were also large enough to place around your neck to wear as a necklace. Everyone in his family, of course I didn't know Randy at this time because he was a kid, everyone in his family knew that the grandmother wanted to be buried with the rosary. But when she died, they couldn't find it. They searched as long as they could. They could never find it. She had to be buried without it. And even though they were grieving, they were still teenagers, and when they were going through a drawer in their grandmother's room, they found the rosary in the back of some other some old clothing. And Randy said he took it out and impulsively put it over his neck, turned to his brother and said, "Terry, look, I'm Grandma." And he said at that moment, something invisible grabbed the back of the rosary at the nape of his neck and pulled it back, not as if they were trying to hurt him or choke him to death, but as if to say, "Those are mine and I'm here." He said this was a couple of seconds. They both saw him, but Randy experienced it. He said he took off the beads, dropped them on the floor. They screamed like little girls and ran out of the room. At a couple hours, they came back and, picked them up and gently put them back and showed their parents. And, it's like they never played with Grandma's beads again. But this was my people who tell me stories like that, who have no reason to have made it up, and that they could not have manipulated themselves, that it's something that has happened to them.
Well,
those stories I tend to believe.
All right, let me ask you as a former police detective.
Okay.
How old was the child?
He was around 13.
Around 13, 14. Was he supposed to be in the grandmother's room?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Was he supposed to be
I mean, he could be. It was an open household. They could go anywhere. And, of course, all her things had already been packed away, so he was going, through and he happened to stumble upon them. They weren't looking for treasure. It was just what's in there.
But at 13 years old, kids have rather vivid imaginations. The fact that Grandma has been dead for 3 months, nobody could find the rosaries. All of a sudden, he finds them, and he knows, and I'm sure everybody in the family knew, that she wanted to be buried with her rosaries. Here's the rosary, puts it on his neck, Could this have been a reaction to him realizing, hey, wait a minute. Grandma's been dead 3 months. I'm in her bedroom. I've gone through her drawers. I found the rosary that she wanted to be buried with. I put it on my neck. Oh, my God. Click.
Absolutely. I agree absolutely. That is possible. Just as we have found that many poltergeist-type activities have occurred when there's an adolescent in the home.
Yeah.
Especially at the age of puberty.
Yep.
Which is separate from ghosts and a whole different force we have to talk about if someone's moods are causing external phenomena to happen. So that is possible. But of course, Randy died before I was involved to the point that I went back and grilled him about it. He had told me the experience. And it was only his and his brother's word on what had happened.
Plus, you must admit
Now,
it's a great story.
I know, but it is a great story. As a matter of fact, when I do lectures on ghost theory and what is possible and what is impossible, and tell several ghost stories. But because I'm a magician, I include a couple of demonstrations, which I'm very clear to point out. I'm not calling the spirits. I'm duplicating something that allegedly happened once upon a time, and that's one of the things that I recreate in the show lecture, because there are magical means, of course, that you can make an object suspend horizontally or pull. The same way it is now a traditional classic magic trick of the old spiritualism method of spirit writing between two old school board slates. I don't do a lot of those kind of recreations in my show because today's people they've heard about seances, but they really have no idea what happened in them. And today you'd even have to educate them on what school board slates were.
Sure. But listen, we've got about 20 seconds before I have to go to my next break.
Okay.
Have you participated in seances? And if so, as a magician, did you see them as credible, plausible, or just fake?
I have never participated in what I considered an honest seance. So let me just leave it at that.
All right, you and I will be back on the other side of this break as we ramp up this hour here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. X-Zone Nation, Tom Ogden is our very special guest this hour. His website is www.tomogden.com, and he is the author of Haunted Hollywood. And as Tom was telling us before, the best place where you can get your very own personal copy. Christmas is coming, gang. Excellent book, excellent Christmas gift. Go to Amazon.com or Amazon.ca. And Tom and I will be back on the other side of this break, wrapping up this hour here in the X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Tom Ogden is our guest, www.tomogden.com. He's the author of Haunted Hollywood, and all you need to do to get your very own copy or give it as a great gift at Christmas time, which isn't that far away, X-Zone Nation. It's available on Amazon.com and Amazon.ca. First of all, Tom, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great talking to you and sharing your experiences as a magician and a paranormal investigator. So thank you.
Well, thanks. And you've been asking some really provocative questions, which I love because that's the skeptic part of me as a magician. And that's why when I have been writing all of these books, what I will do is I'll collect the legend, but then I also collect the facts behind them about historically what was going on and who was making the claim and who made it first and how did that differ with the legend 50 years later. There was one example at a Revolutionary house that supposedly Tom Jefferson's maid haunted the house, and it turned out Jefferson never even lived in the house. So why would that have occurred there? But it was one of those rumors, like George Washington slept everywhere.
Yeah.
It was just Jefferson owned this house at one time, and someone said, oh, well, then that creak we heard in the attic must have been his maid rummaging for something.
Well, people
Before the break,
yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say people are going to say that after Bill Clinton dies too. That Bill Clinton slept here, and we all know that he slept everywhere. So, oh,
Well, we don't have to be. Yeah, well, let's not go there. we talked about a séance.
yes,
Whether I've attended a séance. No, I've attended recreations of them that have said they were theatrical experiences.
right.
And at the time, I probably would have been fooled because remember at the beginning, the very beginning, it was all rappings and knocks. And as the mediums, as it became moved into entertainment, into theaters, they needed to produce theatrical manifestations and more belief. The ones that I find more, I hate to use the word dangerous, but the ones that are more problematic to me are today's mediums. They don't claim manifestations. So there's no way to prove what they say they are experiencing or sensing. My sister once said to me, well, I went to a psychic, and she told me all about myself. And fortunately, she did not try to bring back our parents or her husband. And I said to her, I think it's great fun as entertainment. I said, but anyone who tells you that at 2 o'clock on Thursday, they will bring back your brother to talk to you who died in the war, I said, run and ask you $100 to do it. Run as fast as you can from that person, because that's not the way these things are experienced. They don't happen on a timetable. The same way, and I'm not going to say who the person is because he is a very popular, was a TV medium and also personal appearances, but being a magician and understanding the art of cold reading that I'm sure you've talked about many times on this program with your listeners and experts, he was so adept that it stunned me, but there were tells along the way that that's what he was doing. And I had no problem with it until he had a woman sitting behind me reduced to tears, thinking that her deceased father was in the room standing next to her.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is pretty bad.
And the fact that this must happen often enough that there was an usher standing at the back of every aisle with a box of Kleenexes in his or her hands. It was much better than you're going on a trip. I think it's another country. I think, it wasn't that type of cold reading. He was really able to elicit responses and had some excuses of why he had misses if he was wrong.
You remind me a lot of Harry Houdini.
Well, Harry Houdini wanted to believe in the supernatural and the spirit world because, of course, he loved his mother. He lived in the middle of the heyday of the spiritualist movement. He himself, although not many people outside of magicians know this, but before he was famous, one year he and his wife Bess traveled with a circus pretending to be spiritualists. That he didn't do it under his own name. It was this psychic team, supposedly, and he learned all of the tricks of the trade back then. So then later when everybody, including one of his good friends, Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote the Sherlock Holmes stories, approached him as believers, he felt it was his duty to try to debunk fake spiritualists. And he never came out and said, they are all fakes. He would say, I will listen to any of them, but be prepared that I will expose you if you resort to trickery. And he never found anyone who was able to stand up to repeated examination.
Can you tell us about the Paranormal Investigation Committee of the Society of American Magicians?
Actually, I just joined it, so I can't tell you a great deal about it. I know that they are not currently going out like the ghost hunter programs you see on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been a longtime member of the Society of American Magicians, but when I found out about the committee, I just sent in my application and got the card a short while ago. Maybe on a future appearance I could tell you more about that.
Sounds great. You mentioned the ghost TV shows. What are your opinion of them?
I think they're great entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
It has provided me with a lot of places I'd like to go to visit and learn more about. My problem with them is they have not, most of them have not had not a magician, but someone who is looking specifically for trickery to go with them as well.
Well, plus they create a lot of the trickery themselves.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but let's put it this way.
Mm.
If something does not happen on camera, they don't have a show.
That's right. Yeah.
You can have one episode in which they walk around for a half hour and nothing happens, and they can say, in not only that, a night vision camera, which is hard to watch anyway, and say, oh, did I hear something? Oh, no, I guess that wasn't anything. I mean, you can only do that with one or two episodes in a season that nothing happens. And although there have been several instances where it's been accused that some of them have rigged the things, I just look at them as entertainment.
But
in fact, the one I liked most was the celebrity ghost hunters, where they would have a celebrity come on, tell an experience that they had, and then they recreate it, as a story.
But aren't these people being a little dangerous towards society, the members of society who really want to believe? Like, to me, they're just like people who claim to be psychologists and really don't know what the hell they're doing.
I don't have a good answer for that, except to say because I personally have always understood that they were just entertainment. So I don't know how many people are watching those shows and truly believing that they're finding these things all the time.
Many, 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 many hundreds of thousands.
Well, that's sad to hear.
I know.
But the upside of that is that it has prompted more serious investigation that otherwise never would have happened.
I hate to say it, but I've never heard of a serious investigation.
And by that, I don't mean going out with electromagnometers. I mean sitting down and saying, could this happen? Under what conditions will it happen? Right. The British Psychical Society, which was the first one that was founded in the late 1800s to investigate ghost claims, only was formed in a reaction that by that time spiritualism had gotten to London.
Yeah.
And it was formed as a reaction to extraordinary claims.
I hate to do this, but we've run out of time for tonight, good sir.
Oh.
Tom, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to have you back on so we can continue this conversation a lot further. Continued success. And Exonation, if you'd like to get a copy of Tom Ogden's book, it's called Haunted Hollywood. It's available on Amazon.com. And if you'd like to visit Tom's website, www.tomogden.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, the X Chronicles newspaper is available online right now, the new edition, at www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com.